Everyone, and welcome. Welcome here to Harmony Spiritual Center. Pat's already told you who we are. We're a teaching center, Harmony Spiritual Center. And we teach, remind you really, of the laws of the universe, physical laws, mental laws that help and shape our lives. And when we understand what they are, we get to use them. We get to put them into action in our lives on purpose. And so we teach tools to help us access those, to access those laws intentionally. And those tools are prayer. When we put a demand out to the universe, a demand is a choice. And Emily Cady told us that the universe is abundant, we know this. But a demand must be made in order for that, whatever it is you want, to show up in your life. So a prayer is a demand, a choice to the universe saying, this is what I want, and this is what I want right now. And so that's what we do. And meditation, of course, is just hearing a word. When sometimes we just need to hear a soothing word. Someone was asking me about, or maybe they were telling me, it's hard to know. You know what I mean? I take it on as mine, so I'm thinking I told it. But what peace is, and peace is inner tranquility. Inner tranquility, so nothing outside of you takes away your inner tranquility. And so talking to George or Ray or God or whatever you're calling that which is greater than yourself will bring you and help you continue to have peace and inner tranquility regardless of the outer circumstances. So that's who we are, and that's what we do here. And last week the talk was simply about know, be, and see God. And the reason for that talk last week was because this is a living spirituality. We don't have to come here on Sundays to know that. We take this with us every single day of the week, and we show up as individualized expressions of the one love. We show up as new thought, as love, as unconditional love, because that's what new thought, this tradition is. Every single day we live it and we show up as it. And that's how the word gets spread, just by being who we are and what we are. And so that's what was last week's talk. And we're talking now kind of a series of talks. Wasn't intended to be a series, but it seems like it is, because I keep talking about it every week. So let's just call it a series, shall we? Let's act like it was intentional. So, so it's about what's next. How do we move to the next level or the next step or the one thing that will help us move forward in our lives to what we want to do next? And the thing is this, and because I'm always talking about what's next, and I want to say this to you, you don't have to feel any pressure about that. Like Pjae's always talking about, what am I doing now? What am I doing now? What am I doing now? But it's not a demand. It's a possibility. I'm letting you know what the possibilities are. And if you wish to do something more, I'm telling you that you can if you wish to. And all we need to do is make a demand, make the next step. And how do we do that? Because sometimes we want to make another step, but the race consciousness, I talked last week about us being an egg. And what we know, what is the good stuff is on the inside. And the race consciousness is that shell that is covering us, trying to keep us safe, but in that safe arena, we're not stepping into what is possible for us. So I'm just wanting to give you that information that we can, when you want, crack that shell and say, no, what you're saying, what was working for you, what we thought was working is constantly changing. What we know to be true is constantly evolving. We thought the world was flat at one point. It was never true. It's simply being revealed what actually is true. So it's a revelation all the time. It's always a revelation. So that's what we're doing here in New Thought. And so I want to talk to you today. My talk is about try before you say no. Try before you say no. And I was traveling I traveled to Stephenville yesterday to attend a graduation of my nephew. I'm so proud of him. He was on the 440 plan like I was. It took him 40 years to get the 4-year degree, but he did that. So he got it done, and we're just all so proud of him. And then went to Waco to visit a girlfriend and to celebrate more with my nephew and all of his friends. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I was talking to my girlfriend, and she said, "Oh, do you already have your talk? You don't have to write your talk yet." I said, "I'm not coming down here to party with a talk that it has to be written on my mind." Oh no, that talk was written. Don't worry about that. Whether I'll use it or not is a different story. But it's but it's written, so I don't have to worry about that. And so she said, well, what's the title? And actually her son was there too. And he said, what's the title? And I said, try before you say no. And she said, well, where do you get these titles from? How do you come up with this stuff? My mom. Okay, because we all have wisdom warriors in our lives. We have people telling us great things all the time. So it's not like I'm thinking up anything new. I'm looking, reflecting back on, well, what do I know for sure? And what was I told? What were the wisdom words of my mother and my father and all of these great warrior women in my life? And so some of these titles come from that. And this was something my mom would say. Listen, this is my mom I'm talking now. Listen, you don't have to, she's serving up food. She was a great cook, and she's always doing something new. And so she said, you don't have to eat it, okay? So just get that off your table. I'm not gonna make you start throwing up because you're eating something you don't like. But I want you to try it. Don't just look at it and say, oh, this is something new, I don't like it. Because that's right, that's what kids do. That's what we do as human beings. I don't know what that is. I don't like it. And just give it a try before you say no. I was at a workshop the other day, and the speaker said, listen, I know what it's like. I think I may have shared this with you last week, but I know what it's like when you're hearing information as adults. You're already, as soon as a word's coming out of my mouth, you're starting to judge it. All right, but I haven't finished making my case, so I'm asking you this. Can you please just hear the whole thing before you judge it and say it stinks, it sucks, it doesn't work? Just hear the whole thing out and then say no. What that did for me, that she was talking about food in specific, but how that translated, because that's the thing, right, is what's this wisdom and how does it translate into other things that we're doing in our lives? And the way that it translates is, one of the many ways, was that we traveled a lot, right? Because I was an Army brat, and we traveled a lot. So we saw a lot of different cultures, and I traveled a lot as an adult. So I'm going to, and we all think, just back out just a little bit, kids think that the way their home is and how their parents are and what goes on in their lives is what goes on in everybody's life. And when they step into someone's life and it's not working the way their families do, they go, well, that's crazy. That's not how that works. And because kids are really good at telling you what's right and what's wrong. Oh, that's not right. You're supposed to have a saucer with that cup. That's not right. Whatever it is. And so with her telling us that, what ends up happening is, instead of saying, oh, that's kind of strange, that was in my head. Oh, don't keep saying no. Okay, all right. So what is this? So you actually eat rye bread with butter and sugar? Interesting. Yeah. See that? Yeah. It tastes delicious. It's delicious. But I'm like, I'm sorry. Bread is supposed to have meat on it, and mayonnaise maybe. And what is the sugar and the butter thing? But okay, it was delicious. So I did not say no. I just didn't say no out loud, right? In my head, it's okay. It's in your head. You're saying no, but my mom's saying try it in my head. So all right, let me just taste this crazy looking thing. Wow. Good job, well done. And so there's a lot of things like that. And the reason why I say that is, as we move forward, there is an auto no a lot, because it's safe. It's easier to say no, and then you can come back to a yes again. But here's the thing. Once you say no, you generally don't come back to say yes again. You generally say no. So when we have auto, and we don't really know what the no is from, is it you saying no? Is it race consciousness? Someone else put something in your head that the no is automatic? Is it someone that you were around, someone that you trusted, your mom, your dad, your sister, someone that was, had your best interest at heart, would tell you, no, do not get on the Ferris wheel. It's too high, you're gonna fall off. Seriously? But if that's in your head, when you see something big, oh no, that's gonna be too high. That's not, it can't, planes can't fly, they can't take off, it's too heavy, whatever. All right, so, and yet they're going places all the time. So the point of this talk this morning is to, don't just say no, is to talk about and think about what our automatic reflexes are. One of the things that we know when we're looking at how we move forward in our lives, and I've talked about the auto responses, it's protection and all of that. But what is important for us to know, and this is, a lot of leaders will tell you this, is that you have to ask a question. So if you hear yourself saying no, then you want to ask yourself a question. And asking yourself the right question is important as well, but at least ask a question. Jordan Peterson of the 12 Rules of Life said that what you aim at determines what you see. Okay? This is the reason why we talk about goals and what's your next step, because you're not going to get there if you don't aim at it. That's what a prayer is. That's what a demand is. It's aiming at something. And then what you aim at is what you see. So if you're not consciously aiming at it, it's just an auto response. You're just doing something because it's in your head, and it may or may not be right for you. So what kind of questions do we get to ask? Well, the first question I could ask is, and I do ask myself when I have an auto response, is, why is that true? Why is that true? The Ferris wheel is too high and you're going to fall off. Why is that true? Have you ever seen anybody fall off the Ferris wheel? Have you ever been anywhere where it just just broke loose and started rolling around the fairgrounds? Right? How is that true? So you could just ask yourself that and reason your way through. If what you're saying is, it could be true, is it still true? Okay? Because what's true for me at 17 isn't necessarily true for me at 27, 37, 47, and beyond. So we have to relook at things. Yes, it was good and it was true, but now I've learned some things. I have evolved. You have evolved. So we get to look at different truths that were true at one point in our lives, not necessarily true. And so we make a conscious decision. You know what? I was afraid of flying, but I have flown many times now. I've known pilots, which is not necessarily a good plan for you to not be fearful of flying. So, but I'm just saying, I don't have that. Now I'm on a plane all the time. So I used to claim that. I'm afraid of flying. First of all, I had to let go of that claim. Stop claiming that, because what you aim at, what you see is determined what you aim at. So I'm aiming at, I'm fearful. Instead of saying, you know what, I love flying. I'm going to just change it. Aim at something different. I love flying. That's how that looks. So I'm giving that example. That's one of the ways in which it could look. You could ask yourself that. You could ask yourself this. What if what I'm thinking isn't true? What if I just got on the plane? What would happen? What if, and that's really how, I've talked with guys before about it, how I got over the fear of flying was buying the ticket. Because you can think about it all day long, and you're talking about it and thinking about it, assuming that you're afraid. But how do you know until you get on the plane? Get on the plane and see what happens. And what I actually do a lot, just so you know, when I get on the plane, I watch the stewardesses. I just watch them. They start looking panicky. I start looking panicky. But if they're not looking panicky, I'm good. They don't start talking to each other, looking around. It's good. I'm looking at them. What are y'all doing? Y'all good? Okay. Because they've flown hundreds of times. They know when something is not right. So I'm watching them. And that's a good sign for me. Anyway, so that's how I came up with this title, and because of my mom. And what it has translated into, not saying no, is opening doors, opportunities, and possibilities for a greater life. Because the universe is abundant. There's always something more awaiting us. The next step, the one step. And that's another thing that kind of gets us a little off kilter sometimes, because we're looking at, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do the other thing. I'm actually coming to a place in my life, maybe it's age, I don't know, where I'm simplifying things. And I'm not putting a whole bunch of plans together and putting 5 and 6 and 7 things that I want to do. One thing. What's the one thing you want to do? What's the one thing that will take your life to the next place you want to go? Well, for me, and we talked about this, I want to do more with helping other people find where they want to go. And so I'm starting to do this coaching thing. So, get certified. Just get certified. Just take the class and get certified. That's the one thing. I'm not working on anything else. That's other than my job here. But you understand, I'm not working on anything new. That's the next step. And I'm not looking at anything else. Finish that. And so there's a whole feeling of when you make a step and you complete it, how good that feels, and now you have the experience. Because what this is, it's not something new all the time. You don't have to always figure things out. This is a process. This is something we don't talk about when we talk about who we are and what we teach. But what we do teach is a process. And it works the same every time. When I first got involved in New Thought, it was at a Science of Mind, CSL, campus in San Diego. And the very first class that they ask you to take before you become a member is what they call the foundations. Now, it may be called something different. I think it is called something different now, but it's foundations. And the point of foundations is for you to understand our foundational spirituality, the foundational laws of God, and how to manifest. So basically it's how to pray, how to manifest. You walk out of that class in 12 weeks and you know how it works. And they can claim that it works for everybody the same, because it does for everybody the same way. No one has to do anything differently. You don't have to do anything differently. You put a demand out, you get clear about what you want, put a demand out to the universe, and stand back and wait for it. That's really what it is. And what they ask you to do is to try it. What you guys just talked about in your song, then you believe. Do it, you have the experience, and then you believe. And that's what they know. That's what we know. That's why I'm always asking you, try it. Don't just take my word for it. Try it, even just a little thing. And then it will become yours, because you'll know. And then you'll know how to do it for everything. It works the same with everything you want to do. You don't have to keep figuring it out. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So that's what we do. So that's the story of why we're doing this. And the point is to stop getting on autopilot. Now, I also want to tell you something else that I read when I love this. Again, what is it? The question you answer, it determines whatever it is I just said. What you aim at determines what you see. And the question is the aim, right? And so as I'm putting this talk together and I'm looking at how does this work, this whole website came up, and it was a quote, and I started reading it, and it was called RAS, which is Reticular Activating System. RAS, Reticular Activating System. It is a brain function. And what happens is, you ask yourself a question. You ask yourself, your brain, this RAS, gets busy sorting out all the data that you know and that you have and that's coming to you to bring you the answer. It happens automatically, and you all have experienced it, because this is what happens when you say, what was the name of that movie? What was the name of that movie? Oh, well, it'll come to me later. And then you're just talking about, it was Time Zone. Because the RAS has been working the whole time, and it'll just pop in your head. And of course, like a dummy, I just let it pop out of my mouth when it pops up, because I'm so excited that I actually remembered. But it's not. It's the RAS. The reason why I'm sharing this with you and why it's so exciting, because we already know this, and we call it the power of focus, the law of focus, the law of focus. Asking a question, putting a demand out there, automatically puts your mind to focus on it, and to only see all the information that'll bring you what you just asked for. It's why when you buy a car, you bought a green Toyota, whatever it is, Celica, and now all of a sudden there's 1 million of them on the road. Everywhere you go, you see them. It's because you put a demand on your brain, and now it's sorting. And those Toyotas didn't just start popping up. They were always there. But now you see it. Okay? That is powerful to me. And so that's just science putting behind what we already know. The law of focus. It's a powerful thing. So whatever we want, we put a demand on it. We ask the question, and your mind gets busy, the universe gets busy showing you where it already is. Where it already is. What you aim at determines what you see. What are you aiming at? What are you aiming at? The powerful thing about Myrtle Fillmore, she healed herself. Was it tuberculosis that you had? Does anybody remember? Tuberculosis. She healed herself. It took her, I guess, a couple of years, but she just looked at her hands and she said, these are the hands of God. She just actually looked down and said that, these are the hands of God. She looked at her body, this is the body of God. And it does not carry illness. It does not. I am whole and healed. You know that, then everything you want, you can look at yourself and go, this is the body of God. All abundance, all great things are here and available to me now. And when you say that and then you experience it, your belief and your faith keeps rising, and you know exactly how to do and how to get exactly what you're looking for. And this is about, because we only have this life that we know of. We may have more. I'm not saying that there's not reincarnation. I don't know. I'm saying this is the life we're aware of, that we're constantly aware of. we're reading a book now in the book club, and it's called The Midnight Library. And chess is something that this girl that's going back to the midnight library, she's playing with the librarian all the time. And it makes me want to actually learn how to play chess. Because what she talks about, what she says is, the librarian, who's the chess player, she says, when you first start, I'm just going to make these numbers up, but it was amazing. When you first start, the first move you make on a chessboard, now there's 1,000 more. It's been open, 1,000 possibilities have been opened up. The next move you make, 6 million possibilities have been opened up. And on until it was like billions of possibilities with each move you make. The point that she was making, and the point that I'm making with you, is that every step you take opens up more possibilities. So there's no reason to regret. You know, we have regrets. Oh, I should have done, I wish I. To me, the only thing regrets are for is to tell you what you want to do moving forward. That is all. We don't need to spend any time there because it does no good. You can't change the past. All you can do is live now and affect the future. Live now and affect the future. So if you have regrets, change what you did there in the present to change the outcome in the future. That's what we do. So that's what regrets are good for. To remind you, you know what, I don't want to live like that, and I don't have to. That's all it is. That's what we get to do. I think this is such a powerful, powerful way to be, a powerful thing to know, and why I love New Thought so much. We get to decide what we are going to aim at. And what we aim at determines what we see. So I ask you, what are you aiming at? The universe is on our side. Everything works for our good. And we are evolving all the time. We get to question our auto responses, and we wait for the universe to bring us the answer. The RAS is working in the background. The universe is working in the background to bring you what you need to get what you want. I want to leave you with these final thoughts from Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. Remember that we get what we focus on in life. This is the law of focus. If we focus on what we don't want, we'll get more of what we don't want. The first step to creating any change is deciding what you do want, so now you have something to move towards. And that is how life works. Namaste.